Welcome to the Real Estate Guys radio program. As 2015 starts, is it time to launch or relaunch your real estate investing career? We're going to share 9 steps with you today to get started right on today's Real Estate Guys radio program. Ever thought about investing in land? Whether for development, agriculture, or just as a real store of value, land can be an important part of any real estate portfolio. Now's your chance to learn about the economics of income-producing farmland at the 8th Annual Land Investment Expo. Learn from a seasoned panel of land experts, live and in person, including Donald Trump. It takes place Friday, January 23rd in Des Moines, Iowa, and you'll find all the details on our website at realestateguysradio.com under events. Russ and I will be there, so come say hello. Find out about unique opportunities and meet key professionals at the Land Investment Expo.
Hi, this is Patrick Donahoe of Paradigm Life. Over the last few years, I've had the privilege of sharing the services of Paradigm Life with you loyal Real Estate Guys radio listeners through our website, www.beyourbank.com, and also on the annual Investor Summit at Sea. Subsequently, we have seen a variety of financial situations across the socioeconomic spectrum and how everyone, regardless of their situation, would improve their financial lives by following the system we specialize in. As a result of this experience, we have created an online e-learning system so anyone without obligation can learn about the infinite banking concept. This free e-learning program is found on our website, www.beyourbank.com. So check it out today. The website again is www.beyourbank.com.
Welcome to the Real Estate Guys radio program and Happy New Year. I'm your host, Robert Helms. Joining me this week, it's our financial strategist and co-host, Russell Gray.
Hey, Robert.
And back with us, the man we call the godfather of real estate. He's been investing in 7 different decades, Mr. Bob Helms.
Always exciting to look at a new year.
We're right there coming up on, knocking on the door, depending on when you're listening to 2015, a great time of the year to be thinking about your real estate investing and how that fits into the rest of your life. Today, we're going to share with you 9 steps to launching or relaunching your real estate investing career.
And they're not what you think they are. I mean, it's so funny. You know, I get a chance to interact with a lot of the listeners when they send in their email, and I read the different questions they ask. And hopefully this episode is going to clear up a lot of the misconceptions about how you really get started. And people think it's about something it's not, and they completely overlook what it really is all about.
Step number 1 is decide who you are. Are you going to be the hands-on, jack-of-all-trades person who's doing the thing out there, searching neighborhoods and banging on doors and undercovering rocks to get the deals and all that kind of stuff? Or are you the person who's going to enable the team to go to work for you? You're going to sit back as quarterback and you're going to direct the activity. There's not a right or wrong, but you have to decide how hands-on you want to be.
We've seen people successful doing both. We see people do them full-time. And you have to decide, do I want to be full-time? You may hate your job. You may not have a job. And you may say, I need to do real estate to make a living. Okay, that's different. You may say, I love my job. I love my career, but I need to make sure that if I were to lose my job or down the road when I don't want to be doing this anymore, if I want to make a change, that I have some flexibility. So you have to decide not only what you're going to be doing when you're working your real estate investing, but you have to ask yourself, am I doing it in place of my full-time job or on top of my full-time job?
Now, another great exercise we like to encourage people to do is what we call personal investment philosophy. We've covered that a lot, and I don't think we're going to spend time on the show today, but it would be worth the exercise of you going through and figuring out who you are as an investor, what you want to accomplish, your risk profile, and that's all covered in our book and other places. But that's part of deciding who you are. And there's not a right or wrong, but here's what's critical. Don't be somebody else. Don't get all caught up in the guy who's flipping houses or guy who's syndicating deals if that's not for you. Lots and lots of different ways to make money in real estate. Many of them work, but none of them work unless you do.
It's really important, though. I mean, it's so easy to glaze over this. You think, oh, I don't care. I'll do anything to make money. I'll do anything to make money because if I can just make enough money, then I can buy whatever I want to do and I can be happy. That's not true. If that was true, people like Marilyn Monroe and Elvis Presley and John Belushi would probably still be with us. It isn't how much money you make. You cannot buy happiness. You have to live happiness. And you can organize, real estate is so awesome because you can organize real estate in such a way that you get to spend time doing what you like to do, what you're good at. And a lot of times what we like to do are things that we're good at. That's why we like to do them. We feel good about ourselves when we have success. The other thing is who do you want to do business with? There are many different demographics out there. What neighborhoods do you want to be in? What people do you want to work with? I like to work with my family. I try to organize my business to work with friends and family as much as possible, and to not do business with people that aren't my friends and aren't my family as much as possible. That's me. Some people are great. Some people are very social, love it, wonderful. Not for me. The point is don't miss the opportunity to figure out who you are and how you want to live, because you don't know how to do anything else until you get that part figured out. Otherwise, you build a job of your own making and you won't like it any more than you like your day job today. So take the time and figure yourself out. Look back on your history, figure out the things that you've done in the past that you've enjoyed, what people tell you that you're good at. And there's a whole exercise that Robert takes us through every year at the Creating Your Future Goals Retreat. And this is probably the last call to get in on it. There's still time. We're going to be in San Diego, January 9th through the 11th. And it's just 2.5 days of pure focus on you, who you are, what you're good at, how you want to live, where you want to be 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now. And if you get clear on that, then everything else you need to do in inventing your investing career or reinventing your investing career will become much more clear to you, what to put in, what to leave out.
Now, we've been investors a long time, but even more importantly, we get a chance to spend time with really successful real estate investors of all walks. People that are doing big, huge, gigantic development deals, people that are quietly accumulating fortunes. And here's what we know about all of them. They're specialists. They have gotten rich in a niche. They don't say, "Oh, I'll do anything, just any kind of deal, whatever's hot. And I'll do notes, or I'll do second liens, or I'll do mortgages." That's not how successful real estate investors show up in the world. They are very specific. When you ask Kenny McElroy, "Hey Ken, you're in real estate, what do you do?" He has a very specific answer to that. And it's different than my answer, and it's different than your answer, and it's going to be different than the answer you're going to come up with. You've got to craft your life in such a way that you dig doing it, or you won't get up out of the bed every morning to go do it. Real estate can create a lasting legacy for you and your family for generations, the wealth that can live way beyond you. But it's not going to happen unless you grab the reins.
Yeah. So step number 1 is decide who you are, and then pick something that's pretty close to what you like to do to get started, like in a niche, like what you were just talking about. For me, I chose mortgage. I like to do the math. I like to think about strategy. I like economics. Anybody listens to this show understands that about me. So I picked things to do in this business that allow me to add value to the other people who don't like to do the things I like to do.
Like me, I would rather crawl through broken glass naked than process a mortgage or even fill out another mortgage application. So you gravitate to what compels you. This is important. It's the most important thing. Step number 1 is figuring out who you are. Step number 2 dovetails into that, to figure out what resources you have, what we call take inventory.
And we put the 7 essential investor resources are time, talent, or you could call it knowledge or skills, relationships, cash, credit, cash flow, and equity. Those are the 7 things that you got to have. And so you sit down on a piece of paper and you write down, well, how much time do I really have? I mean, am I busy? Do I have a wife and kids and, volunteer work and responsibilities, a full-time job? Is it a 40-hour-a-week job or an 80-hour-a-week job? I mean, what do you have to give in terms of time? And then skills. What are you good at? Are you good at planning? Are you good at leading? Are you good at selling? Are you good at organizing? Are you handy? Do you fix things up? Do you have good mechanical aptitude? Or what are you good at? And what relationships you have. This is probably the single most important one, and we're going to spend more time on that as we work through this list. But your relationships are the people that you have that you can draw upon, that have expertise, that have connections, that have capital, that have any of the other things that you discover along the way that you need and that you don't have. Your relationships are going to be the key to unlocking those resources. And so cash, credit, cash flow, and equity are things, just going to figure out financially pretty quickly where you're strong and where you're weak. Think about hidden sources of money that you may not realize, things like your IRA, 401k, There may be equity in your home. I remember when I was doing a lot of strategy consultations, people didn't consider equity in property as something they could use because they thought, oh, I need to sell the property. A lot of times it was where people could start. Well, for the last few years, people haven't had equity. But, if you were smart enough to buy a property 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, you've had a pretty good run up, especially if you did it in the right market. And now loan products are becoming available that can actually free some of that up. So take inventory and find out who do you have ready access to. And as you now know what you have, you'll also begin to see what's missing as you move on through the list.
Well, and this is critical. As you're assembling a team, real estate investing is a team sport, and you've got to figure out what you currently have in terms of your resources and what you don't. And be honest, if you have a lousy credit, you know what, my credit got decimated in the downturn and I have no credit, great. Other people do. You don't have to have all 7 of the essential investor resources. You only need a few. The most important, number 1, relationships. That's who you know. That's way more important than anything else on the list. People think, well, I look at my bank account, I have X amount of cash, that's what I have. Cash is probably the second least important one. How much cash you have doesn't matter because there's plenty of cash and it's all the same. Cash is ubiquitous. Everyone's money is exactly the same and there's tons of it. You've heard about the money sitting on the sideline? Yeah, it's waiting for you to find a home for it.
That's
right. So the cash is not the problem. The problem is who do you know and how specifically can you put together the resources to line up to work together?
So here's the 3 things you absolutely have to have. You have to have time. If you don't have time, you're going to have to look at the other things you're doing with your time because we all get exactly the same amount, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You're going to have to find some ways to move some things off your plate and free up time.
Now, having said that, it's possible to be a successful real estate investor with just a few extra hours a week. It's also possible to reinvent your life and put 100% of your effort into real estate. Don't think just because you have a full-time job and a life doesn't mean you can invest in real estate. What it does mean is you're probably not going to do the same activities as someone who has all of their time available.
Exactly. Your time, your schedule, realistic. I mean, it's got to be realistic. You sit down and map out your whole week as a matter of routine or your month or your year, and you say, okay, what days, if I only get certain vacation days, then I'm going to have to spend those carefully. I may have to attend a seminar or take a trip and go look at a market. If you can get time off anytime you want, great. That's good for you. If you have to make phone calls, you may have to time block and make sure that those are set so that you get in and out of those times efficiently. Maybe hire a virtual assistant or somebody that can book those times so when you're on the phone, those calls are there waiting for you when you show up. Those are little things you can do, but the key is you got to set aside some time. The second important thing, if you have to pick a skill, just one skill, if you got a menu and you said, okay, I just went to the smorgasbord of skills and I'm going to pick one, you can only pick one, which one do you want? You want people skills.
Yeah.
You need to have the ability to get into relationships with people because the third thing on this list of 3 that you absolutely have to have are relationships. And if you have time and people skills, even if you don't have any relationships right now, the first thing you go to work on is going and getting those relationships. The rest of those things, cash, credit, cash flow, and equity, those will come in time as a result of how you invest the first 3.
So we figured out who we are. We've then taken stock of what we have and what our resources are. The next thing is to get moving. Get started. Pick something, a general direction. If you're not crystal clear on what you want to do, pick a general direction and start moving.
It's a huge transition because the first 2 have been about thinking, introspection, planning, and it's getting ready to get ready. That has to stop. Once you've gotten who you are and once you've gotten the inventory and it's still fuzzy. If you're the type of person that has to have everything crystal clear, 20/20 vision, HD, I've seen the movie 400 times, I know exactly how it ends. If you're the kind of person that goes to the end of the book first and reads it and then reads the rest of the book, you're going to struggle with this. Get over yourself. The first thing you got to do once you've done the first 2 is get moving. So you pick a general direction. It could be a marketplace. It could be a product type. The fact that you're listening this far in, you've already kind of picked real estate. Now you need to get to know real estate. So the point is in any business, not just real estate investing, momentum is essential. It's critical. If you aren't moving, You're losing, you're falling behind. You've got to get moving. And the only way you get momentum is through motion. And once you have that general direction, hey, I'm interested in real estate, I'm going to start moving. And we're going to talk now in the following steps of how you actually start moving.
We're talking today about getting started, launching or relaunching your career. We're through 3 of our 9 steps. More when we come back. You're tuned to the Real Estate Guys radio program. I'm your host, Robert Helms.
Real estate investment advice right in your mailbox. Sign up for the free Real Estate Guys newsletter at realestateguysradio.com.
Are you achieving everything you want in life? What if there was a time-tested way to ensure that 2015 is your best year yet? The most successful people in life set goals and keep themselves accountable. But how? The good news is that it's not rocket science. You too can learn the skills and unleash the motivation that will create success in your life. And now is the time. Hi, this is Robert Helms, and I'd like to personally invite you to attend Creating Your Future, the 2015 Goals Retreat, January 9th to 11th in beautiful San Diego, California. This unique weekend event has been called phenomenal, inspirational, and life-changing by the hundreds of people that have attended. Find out more at realestateguysradio.com and click on events or call 888-489-7723, extension 18. Get your life back on track, physically, spiritually, and financially. Attend the 2015 Goals Retreat on the second weekend of the new year. Click events at realestateguysradio.com. This is no dress rehearsal. Live the life you were meant to. Visit realestateguysradio.com or call 888-489-7723, extension 18 today. Memphis is famous for being the home of the king of rock and roll, but it's also the king of cash flow. If you're looking for affordable cash flow properties, it's hard to beat Memphis. Get your portfolio rocking and more cash flowing your way by calling Terry Kerr at Mid-South Home Buyers. Terry's the king of turnkey properties. Contact Terry through the resource section at realestateguysradio.com. And be sure to order Terry's tips for turnkey rental property investing report. It's free. Just send your request to turnkey@realestateguysradio.com.
Hi, this is Peter Schiff, and you are listening to The Real Estate Guys.
And welcome back to the Real Estate Guys radio program. And a glorious new year is on the way. Just like that, you have a clean slate, and we're going to help you use it, hopefully this year, to the best possible way you can when it comes to real estate investing. We're talking about today launching or relaunching your investing career. A lot of people listen to the Real Estate Guys are brand new to real estate investing. That's always been the case. In now 19 years of broadcasting, always been the case. But you know what? We've also got a lot of sophisticated, successful investors trying to get to that next level. Some of these steps, those of you that have been down this road before, you may have missed. It may be time to go back and refine. So we've talked about who you are, taking inventory and getting started. The next thing is to create an identity. We know who we are. The world doesn't. We have to figure out who we are and set ourselves up for legitimate business.
Yeah, this one's huge too. I mean, if you think about it, it's really your brand. That's what you're saying. You're saying this is who I am. This is how I'm going to show up in the world. This is how I'm going to dress. This is how I'm going to talk. This is the kind of business card I'm going to have. This is the kind of car I'm going to drive. This is the kind of hotel I'm going to stay in. Everything you choose to do is going to make a statement about who you are. And people are not just going to listen to what you say. It's going to be like 7% is what you say. The rest of it is going to be how you show up online, is going to be, your body language and how you carry yourself. If you've been shy or not very confident, nobody knows that about you. So it's not even an identity. It's almost a persona. You can literally reinvent yourself, and this is important.
I think a quick little idea here is to come up with a company name. Don't just be John Smith Real Estate Investor. Have a company name, and it could be John Smith Holdings or John Smith International, but why not have a name that speaks to you? Maybe it's a particular thing that you have affinity towards. Maybe it's something that helps chart the direction. Russ, when you started your mortgage company, you named it Catalyst Funding.
And that was not an easy decision. My wife and I spent a long time with a thesaurus. We wrote down a big list of everything that we wanted to stand for. We looked for metaphors. It was going to be evergreen. It was going to be redwood because we thought the trees, they had characteristics, and it had deep meaning for us. Probably didn't mean that much to the people we were talking to, but every day that I said my name and that thought process of what I went through to get to that name, it told me who I was. And when we chose Catalyst, it grew out. My wife says, well, what's the most important thing to you? I said, I want people to be better off because they've interacted with me. I can't do it for them. and I can't finish the process for them. But when they interact with me, I want them to change. I want them to be on a different path. I want it to make a difference. And she goes, you want to be like a catalyst? I go, oh, that's it. That's it. Catalyst. That's what it's going to be. We're going to name it Catalyst. And then specifically about money, because money can change a lot of things if you use money and have access to money. So we named it Catalyst Funding, and that's how we started the mortgage company. And I still, even though Catalyst isn't the name of my company anymore, I shut the mortgage company down. In my heart of hearts, who I still am, I'm still a catalyst, and I live that way.
Your answer to that question is exactly what we're looking for and what you need to come up with. What's your name? Having a name you can stand behind that means something to you. Doesn't matter if it's a great marketable name or any of that. It may matter today whether or not you can get a URL for it, but start with your identity. And your identity also has to do with how you show up.
It's interesting if you look at the difference between the words invent and innovate. Somebody who invents something is somebody who comes up with an idea that's never been done before. And while that's interesting, it's much less important than innovating and taking ideas that exist and making them useful and doing something for them, with them, like being a catalyst for other people's activity.
In fact, one of the things Bob, we always share about Bob is Bob's quote about you don't need to give natural childbirth to ideas you can adopt. Well, thank goodness, right? You don't have to be the one who figured out that you can rent a house to somebody for a profit. You just have to figure out a better way to do it.
I just got done watching my daughter give natural childbirth. It's a painful process.
Ow.
So if you can avoid the pain of reinventing the wheel, if you will, and pick up some good ideas. But coming back to this identity concept, another thing that's important that everybody now has to worry about that we didn't have to worry about 20 years ago is your online reputation.
Absolutely.
So depending on where you are in the cycle, and I'm going to talk specifically to young people out there, right? When you're young, you're a little bit out there, you're a little bit reckless, you're figuring out your identity, you're making a statement.
You're having fun.
You're wild and crazy. It's all part of being young. The problem is, for guys our age, when we did all that stuff, we didn't leave a video
trail,
chronicle archive of
goodness.
Everything crazy that we did. And today, that stuff lives forever. And so you have to assume that when you get into the business of money, especially if you choose to raise other people's money and you're going to have a high level of stewardship, you're going to have to assume they're going to do some homework on you. And before anybody does that, you should do it. And you should understand exactly what's out there about you to the extent that you're able to clean up anything that's messy and be prepared to have some form of an explanation, plausible explanation for anything you can't clean up that remains out there, so that you are presenting yourself online, and then build a new presence that puts the new you out there and try to make that be the dominant thing that people are going to find, so that even if they find the ugly stuff, the positive stuff is so overwhelming. And one thing is, I always say, be who you're becoming. And that isn't about faking it till you make it. That's about literally changing from the inside out. And you begin to present yourself to the world as the person you are becoming. And there's a fine line between truth and credibility. Because if you tell the truth about who you are today, it's not who you're becoming. You need to be able to tell the truth in a creative way so that it paints a plausible picture for who you're becoming. But if you go too far, then everybody who knows you goes, that's not him.
Right.
He's nothing like that. So there is some spin in all marketing, and your identity is part of that. You want to put a positive spin on the truth, but don't make stuff up. It's not worth being found out and being a phony.
And there's the practical stuff. A business name means a business bank account. You probably want a separate phone number. Today, everyone deals on their cell phones, and that's perfectly acceptable in most business circles. It is in real estate. But make sure your email address is to a website that is your website and not a Gmail or a Hotmail account. Those are just things that make you seem a little less real. And monitor that kind of stuff. You may decide that especially if you're plugged into social media, that's the way to grow your business, and it certainly is. But that's also can be a tremendous time sink. So what you're trying to do is set up your business correctly. Make sure you have the legal entities in place. That's pretty simple to do. It doesn't take a lot of money. Today, entities can be formed quickly and for just a little bit of money, but it's important that your business is set up correctly. And then number 5, after you've created your identity, is to get out there. You got to get out into the world with who you are. Your brand gets built by interaction with other people and other brands.
Now, the great news is, for the first time in history, you have access to more people for less money than anybody else who's ever been in business before you. It is the greatest time in the world. But it also means a responsibility. You know, for us old guys, getting out there just meant you started going to meetings, you started going to trade conferences, you started associating with people. You still have to do all those things, right? The mistake that a lot of young people make is they think they can just sit in their closet all day long at their computer banging away on their smartphone and use social media, and they can connect with people that way, and they don't need to get out there. I disagree with that. I think you need to do both. It's not either or. It's just more, and it's better. You know, it's like saying, oh, salespeople, because the phone was invented, therefore now we never have to go visit people face to face. Because video conferencing was invented, we never have to get on an airplane, or we never have to knock on somebody's door. Not true. It's not true. So getting out there means get active in social media. Get your Facebook up, get your LinkedIn up, get your website up. You know, we talked earlier about having a domain with your email. Well, if someone sends me an email with a domain and I want to know about them, I look the domain up. If it's a holding page with the host and there's nothing there, then I'm like, well, how serious are these people about their business? They didn't even bother to put up a virtual brochure. And same is true. Now, some people, like, we have a Facebook presence. Our LinkedIn presence is probably not so great because we are just a radio show.
Well, and there's another thing about that. It's beginning with the end in mind, right? We're not necessarily looking to be linked in to a lot of people doing other levels of deals and other things, right? We're pretty clear on what we're doing in our business lives. So I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying it may be right or wrong for you. I'm not a big Facebook guy. That's not who I am, and I think it's a tremendous waste of time in a lot of ways. You can argue the other way, saying, oh no, all my business comes from Facebook. That's fine. I don't want my personal life necessarily out where everybody gets to see it, and that's just a decision. But as you're figuring out who your market is, you may need that. And if you're going to have it, you want to do it right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and the thing is, you do have to understand, like with Facebook, you can be a person, but you can also be a public figure, and you can also have a business site. Yep. And so, you know, we obviously are active on that. We interact with our listeners there, and it's great, and it drives traffic to our website. So that's all part of it. But the podcast was part of us being out there long before. When we started doing the radio show, we were active doing lots and lots and lots of other things. And over time, you know, the radio show became more about what we enjoyed doing. As we got more clear on what we enjoyed doing and what we didn't enjoy doing, we shut down a lot of other businesses. Some of them were shut down because of what went on in the economy, and we just decided not to re-engage. But at the end of the day, you know, we were able to set it up the way we want. But the point is that getting out there means being active in social networks, both virtually and real world.
Well, let's talk about real world, because this is critical. A lot of the basis for your understanding and knowledge in getting started in any new career, but certainly real estate, is going to be based on the people you hang out with. There are great practical seminars put on in every town, practically, that will teach you things like how to set up a business and how to do online strategy and how to develop a website and how to find good deals and how to understand tenant-landlord law. I mean, there's a lot of great seminars out there, and not only will you get great information, you'll meet people.
There's a personal side to it. There is no substitute for being there where you can meet people, because there's only so much you're going to learn on a Facebook page. There's only so much you're going to learn from a webinar or an email. When you get in conversations with people, the whole interchange takes on a lot more depth. You really get a background, and you get to gauge who are these people in terms of somebody I want to deal with. And the reverse is true. They're getting to learn who you are. There's only so much you can do without being there in person. Being there in person is amazing and can't be substituted.
There's two categories of friends on Facebook. People who are actually your friends, who you know in the real world, and then your friends on Facebook. And then people you have never met, who claim to be your friends and somehow they like you. Well, I'm not sure that's going to turn into business for you. And if we're talking about getting started in a career like real estate investing, I'm much more interested in the connections that are going to result in a win-win business relationship for all parties involved.
Yeah, I view social media as a feeder program to live events. And I think having attended a number of live events by people in the social media space, that's the way they use it. I mean, you think about all the different people out there that are active on social media for business, they're driving you to live events. And there's a reason for that. That's because that's where the deals get done. That's where the relationships get built. And there is a level of focus that occurs when you're at a live event where you're really engaged. Facebook is something you're kind of fleeting, in and out. You're watching it, you're multitasking. When you're sitting in a seminar, you're attending a meeting, you're at a conference, you're in a networking cocktail reception or whatever, you're having much deeper connection with people. The other thing is you're picking up the lingo. You're looking at who and how they work the room and who the players are by who's on stage. You can find role models, advisors. Everybody that you choose to associate with is going to be part of that brand that we talked about earlier. And so where do you meet those people and get into those relationships? Live events.
I just lived this, as the listeners probably heard a few weeks back when I was in the Dominican Republic at the Caribbean Hotel Investment Conference. It was extraordinary. Think about people who paid thousands of dollars and days of their time and flights and hotel to come to a conference on the Caribbean Hotel Investment Landscape and Operations Summit. Just think about who those people are. The wealth of knowledge in the room for that demographic was second to none. I met with more, and you heard many of the interviews, but vice presidents of major hotel brands, people that would be really hard to get to in most circumstances, I got to sit down with, not because I'm the host of the Real Estate Guys, but because they were there and I was there and I sat next to them in panels and went to events and cocktail parties and lunches and all that stuff. And again, if that's not necessarily our primary niche, but I learned so much, not from what was said on stage. There was some knowledge that transferred there, but from getting in real conversations with people doing that business.
Here's the thing, especially trade conferences, like what you're talking about. The people who go to those conferences, those are all the heads of companies. They're all the thought leaders, and they all go there to network with other heads of companies and other thought leaders. It's kind of a who's who collection. Whereas if you were cold calling or trying to find some of these people and get their time, they wouldn't give you the time of day.
Right.
And yet they're all there to talk with people. Many of them are standing in booths hoping somebody will come talk to them. And it's like shooting fish in a barrel if you're a networker. I mean, it's the easiest place in the world to go. And it just blows my mind that people want to save the money by not taking the flight, not paying for the hotel, not paying the tuition, and not going. Because when you're in the environment, unless you don't have any business to do, if you're in the right environment, I don't see how you can not do business unless you're just an absolute wallflower.
Well, the other thing about getting into real estate events as a prospective real estate investor or someone who's new in the business is you'll get around the people, you'll get the lingo, you'll get to see what's hot, you'll see what the trends are, you'll be part of conversations, and awesome stuff can happen when you do that. Get around other investors. You want to be a great investor? Get around successful investors. We're talking today about launching or relaunching your real estate investment career. Lots more ideas when we come back. Plus, we're going to play real estate trivia next. You're tuned to the Real Estate Guys radio program. I'm your host, Robert Helms.
Live nationwide, you're listening to the Real Estate Guys. Find out more at realestateguysradio.com.
It's a new year and time to learn some new strategies, discover some new markets, and network with hundreds of other real estate investors at the Dallas Real Estate Investor Expo. With more than 70 presentation sessions and dozens of exhibitors, this is your chance to learn from the experts and meet plenty of prospective team members. It all takes place January 24th and 25th in Dallas, Texas, and you'll save 20% when you register with the Real Estate Guys special code. Get the details at realestateguysradio.com under events and join us at the Dallas Real Estate Investor Expo.
Are you still sitting on the sidelines trying to figure out when and where you're going to buy those investment properties? Well, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Atlanta, Georgia is still on sale, but you better act fast because the deals are almost gone. Hey, this is Ken Corsini with Georgia Residential Partners, and I want you to know that there may not be a better investing opportunity than Atlanta right now. Listed as one of the fastest growing markets in the country, both in terms of jobs and population, Forbes predicts 26% appreciation over the next 3 years. At Georgia Residential Partners, we sell turnkey, cash-flowing investment properties. We also sell wholesale properties at insane discounts. We're launching a new home construction product this summer as well, and if you're still nervous about stepping out into another market, I will personally partner with you on a small portfolio of homes, if that's what it takes. Don't wait any longer. Check us out at gainvesting.com or call our office at 770-924-5450. We look forward to hearing from you.
Hello, this is Robert Kiyosaki. I'm the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And if you're serious about learning how to invest in real estate, listen to the real estate guys. They really know what they're talking about.
And welcome back to the Real Estate Guys radio program, the number one downloaded podcast on real estate investing. We're talking today about 9 steps to launching or relaunching your real estate investing career. Before we get back to it, it's time to play Real Estate Trivia, your chance to win a prize by knowing today's real estate trivia question. In just a minute, I'll give you the question, and you'll give us the answer by sending an email to trivia@realestateguysradio.com. Trivia@realestateguysradio.com. Include your name and your mailing address so that we can send you the prize, which is a copy of The ABCs of Real Estate Investing, the great book by Ken McElroy, Rich Dad Advisor, and just a heck of a nice guy. Kenny will be at the Secrets of Successful Syndication coming up the first weekend in February. If you're interested in learning how to assemble capital and great deals, no one better than Ken McElroy to help you understand that. His great book can be yours if you know the answer to today's real estate trivia question. Last week on the show, it was Ask the Guys, and we asked this: in what country was Silent Night first sung? Well, the answer was in Austria as part of a church service. It's a German song written by Franz Gruber and Joseph Marr in the small town of Obendorf, Salzburg, Austria. So there you go. It was written and performed in Austria. By the way, the first time it was sung, it was done with a guitar because the church organ was so badly rusted, it couldn't be played. So there you go. Here's our real estate trivia question for this week. It is 2015. One of the traditions here in the United States of America is the dropping of the ball in Times Square. Well, the first rooftop celebration atop One Times Square was a fireworks display, and it happened in 1904, produced by the New York Times to inaugurate their then new headquarters in Times Square. But it wasn't a ball dropping. Here's what I want to know. When was the first ball dropping celebration for New Year's Eve? When did that first happen? It's been part of our culture for a long, long time. When did the ball first drop in Times Square? If you think you know or you want to take a guess, send us the answer to trivia@realestateguysradio.com. Be sure and include your name and your mailing address so we can send you Kenny's great book, The ABCs of Real Estate Investing, if you're the winner. That's today's real estate trivia question. Hey, 9 steps to launching your real estate career or relaunching it. Some of you are in that position of life where it's time to get started again. We're at step number 6, lead with value. Give more than you get.
This one's huge, and I'm just want to address all the engineers that are out there that have their notepads and are trying to just get to the point. Tell me how I find a deal. Just tell me how I find a deal. Oh no, tell me how I find money. Oh, tell me how I negotiate a better deal. Show me how I get a better loan. Tell me what software do you use to manage your property? All that's interesting. We're telling you how to get all those things. So just stick with us, all right? So step number 6 here is lead with value. Give more than you get. This seems so antithetical to somebody who's in the accumulation business. I'm going to go in the marketplace and I want to gather. I want to collect. I want to accumulate. I want to hoard. More for me. That's a mentality. And when people in the marketplace see you approach the world with that mentality, they don't want to do business with you because they know that you're a taker. You don't want to be a taker. You want to be a giver. And you want to get to a point where notable people will notice the fact that you give more than you get. That's how you get in relationship. We had the great honor on our 2012 Summit at Sea where a mentor of ours, a guy that we respect, he was the keynote speaker at the event, got up on stage and he goes, the real estate guys, they're the 2 most generous guys that I know. I promise you that's why he was in the room. Because we have worked to support him and support his brand. We couldn't have paid enough money to get that compliment. And all we did was just always try to help. So the key here is when you go out to the marketplace, you've created your identity, you're doing all your stuff, look for problems and look for solutions and put the 2 together. Now here's the secret. You may not be the solution for every problem, but every problem you find is an opportunity for someone. And if you share that opportunity with the someone who will benefit from providing the solution, i.e. making the sale to the person and solving their problem, you've helped 2 people who are both going to be indebted to you. And maybe somewhere down the road, according to the law of reciprocity, they're going to find someone or something that can help you, like a good deal, like an investor, like a recommendation for a piece of software. All the things that you want are going to come from you giving more than you get. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but just trust us on this. Give us a year, go out there and do exactly what we're telling you to do with these 9 steps. And then you can tell us in a year if it didn't work. But I know from experience, I know exactly what's going to happen. You can be, that was the greatest year of my life. I can't believe how many people I know. I can't believe how many deals I found. I can't believe how many good things are happening. It all starts with going out in the marketplace and leading with value.
Let's put one word on that. The word is connector. Connector is what you want to be. You want to be the person who understands what everybody else does, what their strengths are, what their needs are, and you can be the perfect catalyst, Russ, by connecting those people.
And here's the hardest part to hear. There may be nothing in it for you. You don't connect somebody because you're hoping to get a referral fee. You don't connect somebody because you get a piece of the deal if I introduce you to my friend. If-then relationships are just that. You believe in karma, you go into the world, you connect people. When two great people to get together, good things happen. If you're the catalyst for that, some of it rubs off on you. That's how the world works. We're just a couple of guys. People look at us and they go, how in the world have you been connected to all these amazing people? This is exactly how. We never show up to get. We always show up to give. How can we do something for this person to build their brand, to build their esteem, to give them credibility, to put the spotlight on them? How do we make this about them and not about us? And lo and behold, we get taken care of. It happens not some of the time, but all of the time.
So if you're a note taker, I'm going to say something here that I want you to write down because I think this is great. We get questions all the time about how to get started, which we're covering today. And then the other question we get is how do we get started with very little money, which we're also covering today. So this idea of leading with value is what Bob called being a connector. You can literally broker solutions and problems because everybody's problem is somebody else's opportunity. And so you can get into the middle of those and you can produce value. Money is just a store of value. So you can go do value without money. So the point is, this is really important. What we're saying to you right now is really important if you're starting with very little money. If you have tons of money, deals are going to find you because that's the way it works. Everybody's going to be trying to get in your pockets. And if you have tons of money, you might not need to win friends and win advisors and build goodwill because you can just buy them. But if your financial resources are small, then your relationship resources need to be big. And this is how you build those relationships. Now, here it is. It's easier to make friends than money, and it's easier to make money with friends. Got that? It's easier to make friends than money, and it's easier to make money with friends. If you can go make friends, you will eventually make money if you make the right friends the right way.
All right, good stuff. Number 7 is become an expert. This is back to getting rich in a niche, but you need to be known for something, not just known as a nice guy. You need to be known as the specialist. When we talk about people in our world, there's always that thing they do that is uniquely them, their USP, their unique selling proposition. You need to pick something and get really good at it.
So a lot of times people listen, they go, oh, you guys are so philosophical. Well, that's because out of your philosophy will grow everything else, right? You got to get your philosophy straight. A lot of people just want to get in the weeds and they never see the big picture. They wake up one day and they're way out of position. They're like, why am I so far out of position? Because you never took time to set your direction, figure out who you are, do any of the things we're talking about. Here's the other thing. People think it's all about knowledge. And so they study everything. I know all about 1031 tax-deferred exchanges. I understand everything there is about every little nuance. I've taken every single class. You don't have enough lifetime or brain power to become smart about everything. So pick one thing and become super smart about it. So you do have to know something, but it doesn't have to be work because you can pick something like, it's not work for me to read the news every day and I read the finances and to study economics. That isn't work for me. I do it because I love it. And I've become somewhat expert in it. I know that because I've talked to experts and I can stay in the conversation. I can even add value to the conversation. So I feel that my level of expertise has gotten, over the last 5 years of intense studying, to a level. And I use that to get into relationships and to stay in relationships and to add value. And that's why you want to become an expert. But, you know, your expertise, it could be a particular marketplace. You could know every single property in a little half-mile radius. You could know every single tenant. You could know what the rent is. I mean, you can know a lot, even if they're not your tenants, right? Eventually, maybe you hope they will be, but you could be the market specialist. Real estate agents for years have done that. They farm, they become an area specialist. They can't know the whole community. They pick one place. It could be a neighborhood. It could be a product type. I know all about apartments. I know all about storage. It could be an investment strategy, a marketing technique. How do I find investors? How do I find deals? Whatever it is, credit repair, deal negotiation, construction, financing, whatever it is, pick something and study it and study it and study it and find other people that are studying it and share ideas with them, become an expert. Because when you do that, you will have that in your repertoire, if you will, when you get into a relationship where you can add value and you'll give people a reason to refer other people to you for your expertise.
Brian Tracy says if you'll read just an hour a day in your field, within 10 years, you will be a nationally recognized expert. Now, I will tell you, the first time I heard him say that, I was a little bit skeptical. And then I just followed it because he hadn't been wrong before in my world. He was a mentor to me, and I said, okay, I'm going to do that. And sure enough, within 10 years, we're nationally recognized experts on our topic. It isn't rocket science. You just do the things and you get the results. That's how it works. But it's so easy to get distracted by the I need to know everything. And I think that's a pretty good aside.
So there's one thing I want to add that I think is really important on this whole notion of becoming an expert. Notice that in our sequence, right, we've got the 9 steps. It doesn't say you become an expert before you get out there.
Right.
It doesn't say you become an expert before you lead with value.
Right.
When we talked about leading with value, the value was just connecting. You didn't have to be an expert. You only had to connect. That was Bob's point. Eventually, you'll become an expert, and so people will want to connect with you, and that's what you're driving towards. But part of your becoming an expert isn't by sitting in your room and not getting out there. Part of becoming an expert is studying and then taking what you know and going out there and sharing what you know up to the point you know it. And this is where you have to not BS people, right? Talk about what you know, but don't pretend to know about what you don't know about. You don't have to be all-knowing, omniscient expert.
We're talking today about getting started, launching or relaunching your career. You're tuned to the Real Estate Guys radio program. I'm your host, Robert Helms.
Need help with your real estate investment portfolio? Check out the resources page at realestateguysradio.com.
If you've been listening to the Real Estate Guys for a while, then you've heard about the legendary Investor Summit. Simply put, it's the highest level event we do, and the content, faculty, and attendees are amazing. If you're serious about taking your real estate investment to the next level, consider joining us. You'll spend an entire week with like-minded investors, world-class educators, and real-world professionals, and you'll have a blast. Join Peter Schiff, Ken McElroy, Tom Hopkins, and the Real Estate Guys for the 13th Annual Investor Summit at Sea. It all begins March 5th, 2015 in Miami, Florida. Visit realestateguysradio.com and click the tab that says Summit to learn more and reserve your spot. The event is more than 80% sold out, so make plans to join us. Go to realestateguysradio.com and click Summit and spend a week with the Real Estate Guys and an all-star faculty on the 13th Annual Investor Summit. Don't miss the boat.
If you love real estate and have always wanted to own your own business, listen up. The Real Estate Guys and their panel of experts want to teach you how to go full-time fast in the real estate syndication business. These next few years may go down in history as one of the best times ever to acquire investment real estate. There are deals everywhere if you know where to look and how to assemble the resources. The Secrets of Successful Syndication seminar will show you how to make big money doing big deals from a team of experts that have syndicated projects totaling more than $1 billion. Don't wait for someone to give you a raise or create a job for you. Attend the Secrets of Successful Syndication and learn how to build a team, raise capital, find deals, and make full-time money in 6 months or less. Go to realestateguysradio.com and click on events. All the big players use syndication as a way to diversify risk, optimize profits, and earn big money. You can too. Go to realestateguysradio.com and click on events.
Hi, this is Mauricio Raul, the founder and CEO of Premier Law Group, and you're listening to The Real Estate Guys.
And welcome back to the Real Estate Guys radio program. We're talking about today launching or relaunching your investing career. Step number 8 is to help a successful person. Once you've become an expert, or at least you have some basic knowledge, your mission now is to go out and help people who are successful at what you want to do and way too busy to have time to do everything they need to do. This is such a tremendous shortcut to getting in the business. Lots of people that we know who are super successful lived this support role for some period of their life, whether they were someone's right-hand person or a great assistant or a cheerleader or a connector. They were out there helping people who were doing the things they wanted to be doing.
You learn by being around people. You know, you learn how to speak a language by hanging around people who speak the language. You learn the way people think and process and behave, and what is proper etiquette in an environment by being in that environment. Your ticket to being in a successful environment, hanging around with a successful person, is you're adding value to that person. So, you know, the very first Robert Helms seminar that I ever went to was called Jumpstart Your Real Estate Business. And the suggestion that Robert made, if you wanted to jumpstart your real estate career, which was to be an assistant to a top producer. That was your piece of advice. And I was sitting there with my daughter, and you guys said you were looking for an assistant. I told her, go get that job. But I took the advice a step further, because I said, well, how can I help Robert? Robert had a radio show and a seminar business, a successful real estate practice. I had a fledgling mortgage company. I said, what can I do to add value so I can spend more time with Robert and Bob Helms? And I would sit at the open houses with Stephanie, who was holding open houses for Bob, when she would come home at night and talk about the things that she had done and the challenges you guys were having back shop. I would coach her up and add value through her. I was trying to enhance her positioning with you guys. Eventually, I ended up coming and working at a seminar, and that was my entree into being in the seminar business. 2 years later, I ended up becoming the co-host. All of that happened because I did exactly what we're talking about here. I had a little bit of expertise, not a ton. I looked for a successful person. I led with value, and I got in the environment, and then I started building the relationship. And that has put me in the deal flow. It has opened up all kinds of resources for me. It has opened up all kinds of educational opportunities, and it all started by taking that piece of advice from the Robert Helms Jumpstart Your Real Estate seminar business. How can I help a successful person? Because I wasn't looking for a paycheck. I wasn't looking for loan volume. I was just looking to be in the environment and build the relationship.
And back to the 7 essential investor resources, relationships are critical. This is about building a relationship with a number of people that you can help, who, because of the law of reciprocity, will turn around and help you, or somebody will. That's the way it works. You may pay it forward. Number 9, and probably the most important step, is to learn by doing. If I was putting this list together, I would say do deals. Do deals. The way you learn is from doing deals, not from studying deals, not from case studies, not from watching deals, not from reading books about deals, not from going to seminars about deals where they show you paychecks. No, doing deals. There is no better teacher than doing the thing. This is how I got my entire chops built in real estate investing, was by doing the thing. Very first commission check I got in real estate, what did I do with it? Bought a duplex. Like right into the thing. Now, I had a great mentor and great help and a great support team, and many of the things we've talked about without knowing it, we put into practice. But you've got to get out there and do it. Yeah, you're going to stub your toe. You're going to have to get bandages, and you're going to have problems, and it's going to be ugly and hairy, and all that stuff makes you a better investor.
You're never going to get to the gritty level till you take the first steps and get in the contract, because the learning process isn't even about writing the contract. It's about seeing it through to what it took to make it happen.
The reason we have this as step 9 is because you go through all the rest of it to get into enough relationships so that when you go out in the real world and you don't know what you're doing and you get in over your head, you have friends who you can call who can help you. If you haven't built those friends, then you don't have their numbers and they're not going to help you. And the only other way to get help is to pay for it, which is very expensive, very conservative, and a lot of times it's done by theorists and not practitioners.
Well, let's talk about that, because here is the essence of crash and burn in real estate. You know, I gave real estate a try and I wasn't really successful at it. You know what that comes down to? People who are book learners and not seat action doers. I mean, here's the deal. Think about when you learn to ride a bike. If you learn to ride a bike by taking a class on bicycles and reading the instruction manual and watching some YouTube videos about how aerodynamics work and balance, and then you read about how people have been successful riding bicycles, and you saw pictures of people on bicycles, and you learned how the pedals worked and how gears worked and how all of that worked, and then went out and said, yeah, I'm going to ride a bike, you'd fall flat on your butt.
Well, the engineers would be studying, muscular skeletal structure, biomechanics, cardiovascular fitness. I mean, here's the point. And think about this when you're riding the bike. Who was right there by your side?
Mom or dad.
You had a mentor. You had somebody who had an interest in seeing you be successful, who was going to let you fall, was going to let you experience wobbling and uncertainty, coach you, encourage you, through your fear and make sure that you didn't get hurt badly. And if you did get hurt badly, they were going to be the first ones there to pick you up, get you patched up, get you to whatever attention you needed, right? The point is, you learn how to be a real estate investor or anything exactly the same way as you learned to ride a bike. You had a relationship with people who knew what they were doing. You got in over your head and you were able to figure it out in an iterative process of being clumsy and then competent, and pretty soon you could become up to a very high level of expertise. You look at these guys at the extreme sports that are doing these flips and all these crazy things. Every one of them learned how to ride a bike just like you did.
Right.
The only difference is they just took it to a higher level. Everybody, you look at a guy like Donald Trump or Barbara Corcoran, or you look at all these people that are doing these big deals in real estate, right? They all started just like anybody else. I mean, even Trump's dad had money, but Trump still had to go do his very first deal on his own. And I'm guessing the way he's raised his kids, from at least what we've seen from a distance and what I've read about how his dad raised him, nobody there was coddling him. Nobody was handing him a silver spoon. I think you learn by skinning your knees a little bit every once in a while, and that's okay.
Absolutely. The great news is that there is so much promise and opportunity in real estate. You just need to get out there and get it done. Hopefully these steps have been able to help. Luckily, through the magic of the podcast, you can go back and listen again. And if we had more time, we talk more about it. Come on out to a Real Estate Guys event. Still time to get registered for Creating Your Future, the 2015 Goals Retreat. That happens the second weekend in January. And then the first weekend in February, we'll be in Las Vegas, Nevada for the Secrets of Successful Syndication. If you think your future lies in raising money and doing bigger deals, well, there could be an opportunity for you there. This is a great time to reflect on how wonderful 2014 has been, as well as be able to clean up some of the challenges, and we face 2015 with a clean slate. We wish you a happy, happy new year. And until next week, go out and make some equity happen.
This episode of the Real Estate Guys radio show is brought to you by Paradigm Life. Powerful cash management strategies using life insurance. Learn more at beyourbank.com. Mid-South Home Buyers, low-cost, turnkey cash flow properties in Memphis, Tennessee. Corporate Direct, asset protection strategies for real estate investors from attorney and Rich Dad advisor Garrett Sutton. Find these and other great companies under the Resources tab at realestateguysradio.com. To learn how you can expose your product or service to the Real Estate Guys audience, call 888-489-7723 extension 4. That's 888-489-7723 extension 4. Or use the feedback page at realestateguysradio.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week right here on the Real Estate Guys radio show.